All right, so we are working on the GT550. Just got the tank all done. It's all, I guess, cleaned out right now. It's just kind of drying out, so give that a little bit of time to do that. In the meantime, I noticed that the petcock does not move. So if you can see all the different grime, and hard to see inside of here, but you can see all that different grime there. Even on the back side of that, you can see it's just gross. So I'm gonna dip that in the ultrasonic cleaner here, and hopefully it turns out pretty good. Next step will be put the gas tank on. I got the spark plugs and battery in it already. That's what I was waiting for. So luckily those came in, and then we'll be ready to get this thing going. Believe it or not, my tools from Amazon actually came in. So this right here is a vacuum sink for doing carburetors. So the GT550 here has a vacuum carburetor, in which case you need to have vacuum gauges to appropriately sync them together. And also, I just got all my bulk hose. Just ordered some off Amazon. Pretty sweet clips, kind of junky clips, but nonetheless you need them. I got this petcock all cleaned up. It actually flows fuel through it. So now it's time to put it back together and then get it on the bike. Alrighty everybody, so I went ahead and got the tank put back on the bike, carburetors all put back on the bike, battery in, etc., like I had mentioned. So I actually went ahead and started it up, and it's kind of ran absolutely poor. So what I went ahead and did was I went in here and checked the points gaps and all of that, as well as the timing on it. So for a little bit of background for those that don't know, I'm gonna grab my trusty test light here to kind of point it out. These are the points, okay? So they open and close. There's 3 of them on this bike, okay? It's kind of hidden here. So these points, they're, back up, there's a lobe on here, right? So what this does is there's kind of a flatter spot, and then there's a lobe portion of it that sticks out. So the key is, when you go ahead, and the first thing you're going to do is you're going to set your points gap. You set your points gap. I do mine at 12 thousandths, so you adjust each point here to a gap of 12 thousandths when that little piece right there, it's kind of hard to see, it's like a little black piece, when it is at the highest point on the lobe, so when it opens up. So as you can see, for example, if I put this one right on the highest portion of the lobe, kind of hard with the spark plugs in it. But okay, so this one is not completely open on the lobe fully, but you can see how it's kind of gapped open. It's really ever so slight on this camera. So you set that to 12 thousandths, or at least that's what I do. Then what you go ahead and do after you do all that, then what you go in here and do is you set the timing. You first start with the left cylinder, the center cylinder, and then the right cylinder. And how you do that is the left center, or the left cylinder is on the dial, the backing plate here. So there's 3 volts that control it. Easiest way to do this is to align the timing marks, which there is some timing marks inside of here. Those will get you close. Really, you should be doing it off of 20, I think this one's 23 degrees before top dead center. So you actually take the spark plug out, measure 23 degrees before top dead center, and then you go in and set it. You can do both. I mean, ideally you should do that, but I'm doing it this way just because it's super easy. So once you do that, you take your test light and stick it in there so it's grounded. And then you take your alligator clip here, and you take the alligator clip to the point, to the bolt here on the point that you want to adjust. Put that on there like that. And then all you do is, once you have the timing marks aligned, you loosen everything up, and you just twist the whole plate or the individual point, depending, until the light comes on. So you want to be right when the light comes on, that's where you want to set it. So you just go around and do that whole thing for all 3, and then you should be set and ready to go. So I just went ahead and did that, and we're gonna get a startup of the bike now. If you can't tell, I'm in that last little clip, I'm extremely excited because I struggled with this bike all last night, trying to figure out why it wouldn't run right, because I was able to get it running, just like the last GT 550 running video. I just couldn't figure out why it wasn't running right. So I ended up phone calling a few of my old time friends who are gurus with this thing. They all thought the same thing that I thought, which was the timing on it. So I went ahead, rechecked it. Sure enough, there was a timing piece that was off, and made sure all the spark plug caps were hooked up to the right spot, because that's also really important too. You know, your left needs to go to your left, center to center, right to right, etc. Otherwise it won't time right. It won't spark right. So yeah, it is running. So here is the clip of that. Heck yeah! Ooh-wee. I've realized one thing in life. I sure seem to surprise the living heck out of myself some days. I can't, you know, for the stupid things and the good things at the same time. So believe it or not, while this may seem like a little feat, I am beyond ecstatic that this thing runs and runs right. Very proud of myself, and I think I got to take that moment to be proud. Pausing the video here real quick just to add something. If anybody wants more in-depth videos on points timing, point setting, things like that, as well as upcoming carb syncing, I'm more than willing to do just a video focused on that and going a lot more in depth. I am by no means an expert with this. I do have a few people that I have talked to throughout life that are experts at this and have guided me in particular ways to do it right. But again, like I said, if you want it, I'm more than happy to share it. Just comment, drop a comment, and even if there's like 1 or 2 people, absolutely we'll do a video, because I'd rather this knowledge not go unheard, or at least you know, if there's people interested still in this, like at least you can get a more in-depth video on how it actually works. So yeah, just let me know. So I also have to work on the brakes on this bike because the front end is sticking. And believe it or not, I pulled back the dust shield, and you can see all that brake fluid that's coagulated, hardened up on the bottom of this, which is causing this, the piston here, to actually stick and not relieve a little bit of pressure. So it's actually causing this to basically lock up. So just about lost it on the road too, about tipped it over. So quite funny, but let's get this all cleaned up. So that is why we are having problems with the brake there. As you can see how gross this thing looks, and that's why the brake is sticking, because it's getting caught on the piston here. Should be clean and relieve just a hair bit so it doesn't hang up. It's not going to relieve a lot, and I mean it's marginal at best when I say relieving, and it's just mainly so it doesn't like stick onward, if that makes sense. So that needs to be cleaned. And if I hadn't mentioned it already, it's super important that you don't score the outside of this piston or the outside of the brake here, just to make sure that it doesn't leak or have any issues pushing out. All right, brakes are on now, so we're just gonna go ahead and bleed it and see if it worked out. Just remember, you want to have that little port bubbling out air, and you just want to go nice and slow. You don't have to pump the brakes really hard or fast. You just go nice and slow back and forth until you get some pressure, and then you got it in the line. You bleed it out down there. Now this brake, this should move freely just like this, and when you apply the brake on it, can't move it at all, but it moves freely, so that means it's not hanging up like it was before. So I'm on a bit of a side quest with the GT550. I noticed that it's leaking a little bit of oil, so I wanted just to check into it real quick. So I pulled the whole side cover off where the sprocket is, the drive sprocket off the motor. Typically, in my mechanical experience, it's usually been this seal as the culprit to any leaking oil on the ground coming from this range. Typically, because you know, obviously the drive shaft comes out here and onto the sprocket, and it's moving at a high rate of speed, right? And you get debris and whatnot on this, causing this seal to blow out. But actually, believe it or not, as I was looking, you can kind of see this open right here, and I noticed there's fresh oil out of there. Well, looky here is a plug, and this plug actually had fallen out. Kind of surprising. So that should be a pretty easy fix. Put a little silicone on it, stuff it back in there, let it dry, and should be fine there. On top of it, I noticed one other thing. When I was doing the carburetors, one of the main jets was new, and I couldn't figure out why. Well, here's why. I found the jet. Somebody had lost it when they were redoing it, so they had to buy a new jet. So that's the main jet they lost. Quite funny. But yeah, more to come.